Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Unity Breakfast, the 18th Annual Unity Breakfast, sponsored by Muskegon Community College. Of course, put together to continue to remind us and forward the thinking of Dr. Martin Luther King around unity. When I got to thinking about why my business, Alcoa, would sponsor an event like this, I thought, it's pretty easy. The vision of Dr. Martin Luther fits very well with our value of respect, about treating every person in our business with dignity, about providing a diverse and inclusive environment for people to work. I thought it's bigger than that. Our vision as a company for Alcoa is advancing each generation. I believe very clearly that that's what Dr. King had in mind with his vision of unity. I think that vision also transpires very well to Muskegon County. Matter of fact, I've done it before and substituted Muskegon, advancing each generation, to see how closely we're aligned with communities across the world. This isn't about people talking about unity once a year. It's about really great, bright people having innovation and ideas and putting together action plans to make those things happen. That's what makes our business great. That's what will make our county great going forward. Our CEO, Klaus Kleinfeld, has been known to say, we stand on the shoulders of giants in terms of those people who have come before us to create paths to make this way easier for us and our part and our responsibility in terms of advancing generations. I think Dr. Martin Luther King is one of those giants. And so we're here today to talk about his memory and to forward his thoughts of unity here in our community. With that, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Dale Nesbury, who's the president of Muskegon Community College and our proud sponsors today.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you all for being here. I was sharing with Reverend McCann when we took a seat that I'd been here for maybe 5 years in Muskegon after having come back after 35 years of being out of the community, and Reverend McCann shared with me that she's been here even less than that, but it's very interesting how this community comes together, and there are people around the room who perhaps they didn't know each other 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but they know each other now. And in 2 years, the connection that Reverend McCann has made and that I've been able to remake since I've been here, it's wonderful. Part of my job is getting around, traveling around the country, traveling around the state, seeing our state legislators, former and perhaps future state legislators, and having conversations about what will move Muskegon forward. And part of that is having a strong set of organizations that will bring people together to do more than just have a meal. And we're all here having a good time, but when we leave this place, one of the things that we do in Muskegon, and this is unlike other places that I've lived or had an opportunity to visit, we actually do things. We get together, we move the ball forward. Every person in this room, every table in this room, I could arguably make a point of showing how we're working together to make an issue become a program or an activity around this community. And from my perspective, that I think, in my opinion, that Dr. King would have been very, very happy with that. That you look around the room and say, okay, this is not just diversity from a sense of getting together once a week or once a month. This is diversity and inclusion from a perspective of actually getting things done, bringing people together, creating programs, creating policies that make us who we are. Now, before I turn this over to Reverend McCann, I'd like to recognize our Board of Trustees. I see most of them here, and I see perhaps one or two along the way. So if our trustees of Muskegon Community College, if you could please rise and be recognized by this esteemed audience. Please stand. And thank you, trustees. And I'd also like to recognize our staff and all of the sponsors who are involved in this activity. Robert Moore in Greenbrook, legendary Robert Moore, sax player and is all-around good person. And even our jaywalkers, there are some guys standing in the hallway singing to us, and I don't know if they're still here, but I promised them a free breakfast if they would be willing to eat it. Being College guys, I think they're pretty happy with that, and so I'm pretty sure they're somewhere chowing down. So thank you again for being here. I would like to turn this over to Pat Hansen, do the invocation to Pat Hansen.
He's tall. Together on one accord. O Ancient of Days, we give thanks to you for this time and opportunity that we have that we might gather in this place. We give thanks to you for the food that has been eaten. We give thanks to you for the life of Martin Luther King. We give thanks to you for the unity that he has drawn from him and his desires, from the words of his mouth that has drawn us together here. We give thanks to you for the unity that will go beyond this time and these moments. We give thanks to you for the fellowship that we will share one with the other as we sit in this place. Many diversity, much diversity, many different thoughts, many different hearts, many different minds, but coming together on one accord. We give thanks to you. On this day, we look up and say thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guests for today, George and Daryl Fosty, are two of North America's leading authors and historians in the field of ice hockey history. For nearly 2 decades, these Canadian brothers have been in the forefront of efforts to promote and preserve the early history of North America and international hockey. The Fostys began their career in 1986 as military historians. In 1996, given their own passion and history as players of hockey, they turned their attention to the sport of hockey, documenting the early worldwide histories of the sport and the cultures that played its many forms. They're authors of 8 books, which includes Splendid in the Sun, The 5,000-Year History of Hockey and Where Brave Men Fall, The Battle of Dieppe, and The Espionage of War Against Hitler. Their latest book, Tribes, an international hockey history, is scheduled for release in January of this year. And I believe there are novels available today for purchase as well. Their 2004 book, Black Ice, remains the only history ever written of the all-black, all-colored hockey league of the Maritimes. Black Ice is also credited with restoring the history and legacy of the early African-Canadian hockey nearly a century after it had been removed, forgotten, and had disappeared from the Canadian North American historical records. George Fosty is a Canadian historian and documentary filmmaker currently living in New York City. He was born in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and studied at the University of Hawaii at Hilo and the London City Polytech in England. Daryl Fosty is a Canadian historian and documentary filmmaker as well, currently living in New Beach, Maine. He was born in British Columbia and studied history and journalism at Western Washington University in Washington. When I asked him, why the Black Hockey League, they talked about that it was not necessarily the original area of focus, but it emerged the number of gaps in the research and the literature around this very important contribution of African Americans to quite an elite sport. Also, when asked what single finding from their research seemed to have had the most unanticipated positive impact on African American history, They talked about what a privilege it was to debunk myths around African Americans' contribution to such an elite sport. They also spoke of the authenticity being called into question around their work because it challenged popular perceptions of who was entitled to play hockey. Would you join me in welcoming to the podium our esteemed guests for today, Mr. George and Daryl Fosty. Coming up first is Daryl Fosty.